Last rites being performed in Gandhinagar of Prime Minister Modi's mother, Heeraben Modi, who died at the age of 99. The Prime Minister had taken to Twitter in order to announce the news of the passing away of his mother. He put out a very heartfelt message there saying, "A glorious century rests at the feet of God. In Ma, I have always felt that trinity that contains the journey of an ascetic, the symbol of a selfless Karam yogi, and a life committed to values." So he, the three personality traits that he spoke of his mother, a life that she led of values, and those values that continue to carry on through the Prime Minister. We can see those values, Priyanshi. He was so particular as to the time of the funeral, the time of the cremation, which he didn't want to inconvenience the people there in Gujarat.
Right. And in fact, earlier this year, the Prime Minister had also put out a blog. Now we can see those final rites being performed at the crematorium.
परंपरा के अनुसार पंच महाभूतों से बना हुआ ये शरीर अंत में उन्हीं पंच महाभूतों में समा जाता है। ये दृश्य आप देख रहे हैं, वो हीराबेन जिनकी तस्वीरें जब से प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी देश के प्रधानमंत्री बने हैं, उनकी तस्वीरें, उनके दृश्य लगातार देश और दुनिया के सामने आते रहे हैं। कई तरह से वो दृश्य आए। 100 साल की उनकी ज़िंदगी, हाल ही में उन्होंने अपना 100वां जन्मदिन मनाया, लेकिन अपने अंतिम पल तक वो सक्रिय रहीं। चाहे कोविड की वैक्सीन लगवाने की बात हो या हाल ही में संपन्न हुए गुजरात विधानसभा चुनावों में पोलिंग बूथ पर जाकर वोटिंग करने की बात रही हो, या नोटबंदी के दौरान हमने देखा था कि वो खुद लाइन में लगी हुई थीं आम जनता के साथ। सक्रिय हीराबेन की जीवन यात्रा अब अग्नि को समर्पित हो गई है। पंच महाभूतों से बना हुआ ये शरीर अग्नि को समर्पित हो गया है और ये शरीर उन्हीं पंच महाभूतों में
where the family members of these are family members of Heeraba, including the Prime Minister Narendra Modi. She was admitted in a hospital a couple of days ago, and the Prime Minister went visiting also yesterday. But it seems that the health condition did not improve after all. However, the hospital was saying that the health condition seems to be gradually improving and it is stable, but perhaps things took a turn for the worse, and Narendra Modi, having lost his mother. Now, we do know that she has been a source of inspiration for the Prime Minister in his day-to-day life, right from getting her to tour the entire Prime Minister's residence to constantly visiting her in Ahmedabad when he used to go to Gujarat on his trips, to writing a blog when she completed 99 years of age. And he wrote a fairly long blog on the impact she has had in his life. It seems that the prayers where they were hoping that she will get better, and perhaps one did get a sense also after reading those statements by the UN Mehta Hospital that her condition is stable, did not really work, and the Prime Minister has lost his mother. Heeraben Modi completed 99 years this June and would have completed 100 years in another 6 months. As we told you, the Prime Minister wrote a long blog chronicling this journey as to how this bond was a perfect bond between the two, between the son and the mother. Just a short while ago, the commentary that you were hearing on TV also spoke about how Heeraben Modi was also, in her own way, trying to show that she's fighting fit and she's participating in this great achievement that India has called democracy, from voting and not exercising her vote from her house, which is a provision available to the elderly, but choosing to go to a polling station. Also, during COVID, taking all the vaccinations. So that was always one image which was presented to the world as someone who's showing the zeal to accept things and also participate in activities. So this is going to be a huge loss for the Prime Minister, having lost his mother at the age of 99.
Right, Sanket, and we were talking about that blog that the Prime Minister had written on Heeraben Modi's 99th birthday, and he had said in that blog that all the good character that I have and all the good principles that I have in my life right now are because of what my parents have taught me. And he also went on to explain how his mother had a really humble lifestyle. She even went to wash utensils at other people's houses to support the family income. So if you could take us through the contribution that Heeraben Modi had in the Prime Minister's life, both in his personal life and also in his political life.
Yeah, so let's take reference from that blog because it gives us a clear picture of what the Prime Minister's mother meant to him. The blog talks about and chronicles the journey over the past few years, particularly, the 70 plus years of the Prime Minister's existence, the early years in Vadnagar, their extremely humble family background, a family of extremely limited means, poverty, and managing from that crisis into what the Prime Minister is today, and the role the mother played. So that blog often talks about how she never made us feel that there is a problem, and that has perhaps had a great impact on the Prime Minister. The blog also talks about how in his political journey, when Narendra Modi was not the Prime Minister, when he was just a political worker for the Bharatiya Janata Party, and in its previous avatar also. You see, BJP only came into existence in the 1980s. But in its earlier avatar, how Narendra Modi and his politics was shaped and nurtured and promoted by his mother, where she gave her blessings. All of that finds a prominent mention in the blog. It talks about him going to Lal Chowk to unfurl the tricolour and then coming back to Gujarat and being greeted by the mother. There are pictures in that blog about this very special bond. And then more recently, when he took over as the Prime Minister, when he repeatedly went there, it has a picture of the Prime Minister giving his mother a tour of the Prime Minister's residence on a wheelchair, pushing that wheelchair. So, it was very clear that this is a very special bond, like any other, mother and son bond. So, that is what he was trying to highlight with the help of that blog. Now, that association in his memory is definitely going to remain. However, at the age of 99, and we must say that at 99 also, she lived an extremely healthy life, extremely physically fit. So this is definitely for the Prime Minister, while he mourns the loss of his mother, I'm also sure, and it was very clear from that blog also, that he does definitely believe in celebrating this life also, which is something he did through that blog and through the various commentary that the Prime Minister makes about his mother.
Right, and Sanket, we also know that the Prime Minister was expected to be in West Bengal to attend certain events, but now even those events will happen as per the plan, but he'll be attending those events virtually. So that's also, we were speaking to guests some time back, and they were also telling us that this is also a principle that he got from his mother. The family sources are also saying that we want everything and everybody to follow schedule and go with their prior commitments and really not change anything. And that's what Heeraben Modi would like as a befitting tribute to her. So that's also a principle that Prime Minister Modi gets from his mother.
In these pictures, I can see a lot of not just relatives, but maybe political leaders, friends turned foes, Shankar Singh Waghela, also in attendance, joining in this moment of grief. Former Chief Minister Vijay Rupani also there at the cremation ground in this moment of grief. You can see many seers and saints also expressing solidarity. The point that you mentioned, Priyanshi, about business as usual, I think that is something which has pretty much been the philosophy of the way this government functions. In fact, earlier this year, not this year, but earlier on, we had heard that there was a loss in the family of the UP Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath, and he chose to not go because it was a very important political moment, and then he visited later. So this is perhaps in league with the motto of the BJP, something that they keep mentioning also, where nation first, party second, and self last. That's one of the key mottos of the Bharatiya Janata Party for a very long time, many decades actually. So in league with that, the Prime Minister, I think, has decided that there is no point going to or missing any event. He was scheduled to go to West Bengal. It was a very, very important visit to West Bengal. Remember, politically, the Bharatiya Janata Party is focusing a lot ahead of 2024 in West Bengal. They tried very hard in 2019, managed successfully to make very strong inroads, almost come right up to the Trinamool Congress in their vote share. Then in 2021, they fought a very spirited campaign. Some would say that it was, in some senses, turned vitriolic also, but the BJP was short of power, but they made major inroads in West Bengal. In 2024, the BJP was really hoping that they would be able to be successful and increase their score from 2019. Plus, the BJP strategy of concentrating on states where they had not done well in 2019. They've also earmarked about 140, 150 seats, where even if they won by a slender margin, or the seats that they lost, because they've got a mission 350. So, given all these things, the Prime Minister's visit to West Bengal was very, very significant. And there were a lot of development projects which were supposed to be thrown open to the public. Now, all of that is going to be done virtually. So the program goes on as scheduled, but this is going to be virtual in nature, given this tragedy that has unfolded.
And the show must go on is what the philosophy that, as you mentioned, that the government seems to be taking. Even though the Prime Minister has had this great personal loss this morning, he will be attending those events virtually. Now, Sanket, we were also talking about all of the leaders who are with him at this moment of grief at the crematorium, and also virtually many leaders have given their condolences to the Prime Minister, saying that they're all standing with him at this difficult time. If you could tell us who all are there at the crematorium, who all have you seen till now, the political leaders? We've also seen some of the rivals of Prime Minister Modi there.
Yes, so the pictures that we saw, these are of course family members. Remember, there is another tragedy also which has happened in the Prime Minister's family, where his brother met with an accident, road accident in Mysuru. So that also happened just a few days ahead of Heeraben being hospitalized. So that is also one big tragedy that has that the Prime Minister seems to be facing. But apart from that, the leaders who expressed their solidarity, well, the one leader that I saw at the cremation ground is Mr. Shankar Singh Waghela, old veteran in politics of Gujarat, known as Bapu. He was an old BJP hand. Then he left the party, does not seem to speak very fondly about the political journey of the Prime Minister, stays in Gandhinagar, is a very sharp commentator on the manner in which national politics is happening and state level politics is also happening. Not very relevant in the state politics now because he's very old, he's 80 plus. But his presence here shows that, in moments of grief, leaders will definitely express their solidarity. In fact, lots of tweets coming in from the BSP to the Congress to many leaders in the BJP to many other political stakeholders also, all expressing their solidarity with the Prime Minister and joining him in this moment of grief that he has lost his mother.
And Sanket, we're seeing those visuals from that crematorium in Gandhinagar where the Prime Minister is performing those last rites according to the Hindu tradition. And we also seeing that this is Hiraben Modi's last journey, and the Prime Minister, like any other son, is performing those last rites, those last rituals at the cremation ground. Hiraben Modi died at the age of 99, and there you can see the Prime Minister, an emotional Prime Minister there at the cremation ground performing the last rites and bidding farewell to his mother and paying his last tributes to his mother as she dies at the age of 99. Now, the Prime Minister reached Ahmedabad early this morning and the death was announced at around 3:30 a.m. in the morning, and the Prime Minister also reached a couple of hours ago, and there you can see him at the cremation ground as those last rites are being held in a cremation ground in Gandhinagar. Sanket, if you're still with us, while we're seeing those visuals of those last rites being performed, we're also focusing on the importance that Heeraben Modi had in Prime Minister Narendra Modi's life. And you've also seen, and we've seen before every elections or before any important day in the Prime Minister's life, he would go to Gandhinagar, go to Heeraben Modi's residence and get her blessings. So that just goes on to show that before any important event in his life, the Prime Minister wanted to make his mother a part of it by getting her blessings.
That's right. And, I'm adding this like any other son would do.
Right.
Priyanshi, the best way to explain the emotion of the Prime Minister is not by paraphrasing or trying to highlight those moments, but to actually, the Prime Minister himself has chronicled it in the form of a blog. And if you allow me, I'll read some excerpts right here so that you understand how he has been about this. So he says in his tweet, in his blog, a mother not only gives birth to her children, but also shapes their mind, their personality, and their self-confidence. Today I feel, and by the way, just to tell you, this blog was written when she turned 99. This is on a blog written on narenmodi.in on the 18th of June, 2022. He says, today I feel extremely happy and fortunate to share that my mother, Heeraba, is entering her 100th year. This is going to be her birth centenary year. If my father had been alive, he too would have celebrated his 100th birthday last week. 2022 is a special year as my mother's centenary year is starting, and my father would have also completed this. He says, I have no doubt that everything good in my life and all that is good in my character can be attributed to my parents. Today, as I sit in Delhi, of course, remember, this is a blog written in June 2022. I am filled with memories from the past. A mother's penance creates a good human being. Her affection fills a child with human values and empathy. A mother is not an individual or a personality. Motherhood is a quality. And then this entire blog has many pictures like the one that you see right now of happier moments where the Prime Minister is showing her around, showing her the 7 Lok Kalyan Marg residence, the Prime Minister's residence. He then says, today, compared to today, okay, so he also says that my mother was born in Visnagar in Mehsana in Gujarat, which is quite close to my hometown Vadnagar. She did not get her own mother's affection. At a tender age, she lost my grandmother to the Spanish flu pandemic. She does not even remember my grandmother's face or the comfort of her lap. Compared to today, mother's childhood was extremely difficult. Perhaps this is what the Almighty had destined for her. Mother always believes that this was God's will. In Vadnagar, our family used to stay in a tiny house which did not even have a window, let alone a luxury like a toilet or a bathroom. We used to call this one room tenement with mud walls and clay tiles for a roof our home, and all of us, my parents, my siblings, and I, stayed in it. Usually, scarcity leads to stress. However, my parents never let the anxiety from the daily struggles overwhelm the family atmosphere. Mother never expected us children to leave our studies and assist her with the household chores. She never even asked us for help. However, looking at her work so hard, we considered helping her our foremost duty. He's talking about himself and his brothers and his other family members. Mother used to wash utensils at a few houses to help meet the household expenses. She would also take out time to spin the charkha to supplement our meager income. We would do everything from peeling cotton to spinning yarn. Even in this backbreaking work, her prime concern was ensuring that the cotton thorns don't prick us. During the rains, our roof would leak and the house would flood. The mother would place buckets and utensils below the leaks to collect the rainwater. Even in this adverse situation, mother would be a symbol of resilience. You will be surprised to know that she'd use this water for the next few days. What better example of water conservation? It's a fairly long blog. In fact, I'll quickly skip to the bits where he talks about her role in his political journey. Uh, he talks about how he went to Kedarnath, Badrinath. Then you might have noticed that mother never accompanies me for any government or public program. And that's the picture on your screen right now. Once it was at a public function in Ahmedabad when she applied tilak on my forehead after I returned from Srinagar, where I had hoisted the national flag at Lal Chowk, completing the Ekta Yatra. That was an extremely emotional moment for mother because a few people had died in a terror attack in Phagwara at the time of the Ekta Yatra. She became extremely worried at that time. Two people then called to check on me. One was Shraddhe Pramukh Swami of Akshardham Temple, and the second was Mother. Her relief was palpable. So, those are the references to the old pictures in that blog. He then says the second instance is when I first took oath as Gujarat's chief minister. So, he's basically chronicled her mother's participation in the prime minister's political journey. So the first was that Ekta Yatra, the pictures that we showed you just a short while ago. And the second, according to the prime minister, is when he took oath as Gujarat's chief minister in 2001. The oath taking ceremony was held, the prime minister says, 2 decades ago, was the last public event that my mother attended with me. Since then, she has never accompanied me to a single public event. And that is something that we have seen also. It's only the prime minister who goes and used to go and visit his mother. It was not the other way around where she would come and participate in a government event or in a public event. So the last public event was when the prime minister took oath, and the first was the picture that you saw just a short while ago, that black and white picture. He goes on and says, I remember another incident when I became the chief minister of Gujarat. I wanted to publicly honor all my teachers. I thought that mother had been my biggest teacher in life and I should also honor her. Even our scriptures mention that there is no bigger guru than one's mother. I requested my mother to attend the event, but she declined. And she said, and the prime minister quotes, see, I am an ordinary person. I may have given birth to you, but you have been taught and brought up by the Almighty. All my teachers were felicitated that day, but for my mother. That's a point that the Prime Minister has mentioned in his blog. He then says, Mother made me realize that it is possible to be learned without being formally educated. Her thought process and far sighted thinking have always surprised me. Right from the time elections began, she has voted in every election from Panchayat to Parliament, as she was always aware of her duties as a citizen. a few days ago, and this is again reference to June 2022, she had also gone out to vote in the Gandhinagar Municipal Corporation elections. And more recently, if you notice in the Gujarat elections that have just concluded, she voted in those elections also. The Prime Minister then adds that I have never heard mother complain about anything in her life. Neither does she complain about anyone, nor does she keep any expectations from anyone. Even today, there are no assets in my mother's name. I have never seen her wear any gold ornaments, and she has no interest either. Like earlier, she continues to lead an extremely simple life in her small room. She keeps herself abreast of developments in the world. Recently, I asked her how long she watches TV every day. She replied that most people on TV are busy fighting with each other, and she only watches those who calmly read out the news and explain everything. That's the Prime Minister about the mother's choice uh, on news gathering and what sort of television news she likes to watch. Uh, the Prime Minister said, I was pleasantly surprised that mother keeps track so much. Then he also talks about how another incident of her sharp memory that in 2017, after campaigning in Kashi for the Uttar Pradesh Assembly elections, he went to Ahmedabad, carried some prasad for her, and when he met his mother, she immediately asked him if he had paid obeisance to the Kashi Vishwanath Mahadev. um, he was surprised that his mother remembered the full name, and that during this conversation, she also asked the Prime Minister if the lanes that lead to the Kashi Vishwanath temple are still the same, and is the temple still inside a household premises. And the Prime Minister was surprised that she remembers so much because she had not frequently visited Kashi. These pictures that you see on your screen right now of the happier moments are the few moments that the Prime Minister mentioned when Heeraba publicly attended functions. So there are two images here, only two, where she publicly attended events felicitating the Prime Minister. He was, of course, not the Prime Minister then. One is this picture, and the other was of his swearing in as the chief minister for the first time in Gujarat in 2001. And since then, we've always seen the prime minister go to Gujarat and meet his mother. So this blog also continues. I'd like to wrap up now. The one last paragraph now left, where he says that since childhood, I've noticed that my mother not only respected others' choices but also refrained from imposing her preferences. In my own case, especially, she respected my decisions, never created any hurdles, and encouraged me. Since childhood, she could feel that a different mindset grew inside me. Uh, and he also says, before a few hours later, I left home. He's talking about an incident of his childhood. By then, even my father had come to terms with my decision and gave me his blessing. He's talking about his political, the wish to um, take up uh, an alternate career or decide what he wants to do in his life. Before leaving, mother fed me curd and jaggery for an auspicious new beginning. She knew that my life would become extremely different henceforth. Mothers may be extremely adept at controlling their emotions, but always find it hard when their child leaves home. Mother was teary eyed, but there were immense blessings for my future. Mother has always inspired me to have a strong resolve and focus on Garib Kalyan. I remember when it was decided that I would be Chief Minister of Gujarat, I was not present in the state. As soon as I landed there, I went straight to meet my mother. She was extremely ecstatic and inquired if I was going to again stay with her, but she knew my answer. She then told me, I don't understand your work in the government. I just want you to never take a bribe. So that was the advice, and also I would say, the decree of Narendra Modi's mother, which he has mentioned in the blog.